Oh yeah, welcome to France. At Burrage in France, near the Champagne region. It's probably, is it 4.5 hours from Calais? And I've had an absolutely blinding week. I'm on like over 30 odd fish, uh, quite a few 40s, loads of 30s, just a small handful of 20s and upper 20s at that. Like this morning, I had two fish rattle off, one after the other. I was playing one, I just about got it to the net, and literally the fish was about 10 yards from the net and the other rod screamed off. I've just tightened the clutch up slightly, and I've been lucky enough, I've managed to land both of those. Right then, how's that? £44, she weighs a ton. Great big long thing, look. Absolutely stunning. Right, now I'm just a bit knackered now, so I want to get her back and get that rod back out. Get that there. What a place to come for commons. Rock hard. Basically on this video I thought I'd take you through how I use bait and my thoughts on bait. For instance, when I turned up to this venue, I'd never been here before. Generally what a lot of people forget is, they're all excited they've come to France. The morning that you step into, or the dinner time you step into a peg, the morning somebody's vacated the swim. So, you don't know what they've done, you don't know how much bait they've put in. Basically you're dropping into what could be, a stale swim, or if they've had loads they might have moved the fish off or something. So, I'm never one for going all gung-ho with me bait. Like this session I've probably used, must be 30 kilo of bait, but I don't use much bait per fish. Starting off, I've turned up, I've had a good look, fishing looking areas. If I'm lucky enough and I see a show, it gives you something to go on to start off with. Basically, I'll either fish bags or maybe a tiny little scattering, maybe a ace bomb over a rig, that type of thing. And so I'm not committing myself at all to any sort of areas, or because if I bait up an area and stick a couple of 3 kilo on a spot, I've committed myself to that area, because if I see fish moving somewhere else, it'll always be in the back of your mind that well, you ain't got a rig on your baited spot, there'll be a fish munching away, like, and you missing your chances, aren't you? So I give it a day, first 24 hours, keep my eyes peeled, see what I can see, and generally the fish, if you're on a few fish, they'll start giving away a few little instant tips here and there. Like I stepped into this swim, fishy looking areas as it was. I managed to sneak one out on the first night down the far margin, down this margin down here. But as the session went on, going into the second day, it was quite evident that they like that area for the night, and it's generally on the other side, from middle to the other side of the lake in the daytime. So got two areas. So basically what I ended up doing, dropping a spot over quite far over the other side of the lake. I put a small bed of bait out, and I'll keep it quite tight, but I'll put a couple of rods on it, and this is just for learning which direction the fish are coming from. So I've got my patch of bait in the middle, and I'll drop a rig each side of the spot, if you like. So that first night, knowing the fish where they are, I want to see which direction they're coming to the baited spot from. Yeah. So I've got my baited spot, rig each side, probably, I don't know, a couple of 3 foot off each side, that type of thing. And the rod, everybody would probably turn around and say, oh, one rod always outfishes the other. So I've got the one rod, and it's outfishing the other. You might have one fish on the one rod, and the other rod you might get 3 or 4 fish on it, but generally the one that's catching the most is the direction the fish are entering your spot at, because you know, if they've come into your spot, been feeding, they're chewing when they go over the other rig, if you see what I mean. You know, it's quite a simple way of looking at it, but if they've got a mouthful of food and they're chewing, that's why you get less bites on the one when they're coming out the spot, if you like. So you know, I found out that rod I can do something else with now. I know which side the fish are coming in from, and generally I'll fish a rig just to the side with where the fish are coming in, because as they're coming to the spot, they're moving, so you get better pickups, better runs, better hook holds. You know, you could put your rig smack in the middle of the bait, but the fish, you know, if they start getting feeding really well and they're just hanging around the spot, it's almost like they've got too much time. So if you can get them to pick a bait up while they're moving, you know, that's the best way to hook fish. You know, I've watched them in the margins, and it is the best way to hook them. And you're not giving them any chance at all. Basically, they pick it up because they're moving to the spot. Bang, leads hit them, off they go, and you got an absolute screamer on your hands. So next thing from there, I've obviously between the day spot and the night spot, I've tried to figure out roughly where they're coming through, and I've created a little spot there as well, but that one's quite small. It's almost a couple of spoms, just a tiny little spread, chops and broken boilies, that type of thing. And basically putting that down, and I've got a rig in that. So I'm looking at it, I've created a spot like a one bite rig, but every time I get a bite, I'm doing the same again and doing the same again. And as soft as it sounds, my 3 spots, because I'm only fishing 3 rods, I've got through 30 kilo and I've got a bite. Right then, just over £33. Nothing like being rudely interrupted when you're talking, is there? But I'll forgive her. Look at that for a beastie. Like peas in a pod here. Beautiful stuff. Right, we'll get back on with the bait talk. Right then, oh, joking. It's gone again. Is that a liner? Nope, got a bite. I might get to talk to you in a minute. Right then, this is a right beauty. Hot Chunkosaurus. £41, Brocard beauty. Look at that. And I'll tell you what happened, why I got 2 bites, one after the other then. And it happens more often than not, to be fair. What a beautiful fish. Right, I'll get her back. Small traps again. It's been bite after bite after bite. As you can hear, the other rod's going again. Quite a bit smaller than the last one, but I think he's probably close to 27 to 30, somewhere around there. To be honest, I think he might be 30. So I'll have a deep fish. Right, let's get him out. Whew. Right then, fish number 40, 30 pound 8 ounce, and yet another common. Beautiful, absolutely brilliant. Anyway, where was I before I was rudely interrupted 3 times on the bounce? Absolutely crazy. I was saying about that one fish, and it was no surprise that the other rod went. So, you know, you find their patrol routes and like their spook routes, because I do quite a bit of that. You know, I'll have the one bite, and I've got a rig where I know they're going to spook to, where they travel to. Basically, something bright. Passing through, if there's enough fish there, you get a pick up, and that's, you know, what more proof do you need than that? But yeah, it's small baits, chops. You know, you can use small boilers. You could have 18mm boilers and chop them down. You know, put them in a crusher or chop them up with a knife or whatever. Watching them in the margins when I've been stalking, you know, it's how I fished in Shropshire for years now. But you know, it proves it watching them in the margins and and how quickly they feed on smaller items. You know, it's all well and good to say, oh, I'm gonna bang out, I don't know, a couple of kilo of 18 millers, you know, but you don't forget the baits will swell a bit in the water. So 24 hours on, your 18 millers are probably 20, 22 millers, your 10 millers are probably 12s. Your 14s are probably 16s, so you keep that in your head as well. And you know, and then all of a sudden you're starting to think, well, maybe I do need smaller baits. Obviously, if you've got nuisance fish, you've got to get around that, and angling pressure as well. Like there's a guy down there, he's been struggling a bit, to be fair, but he's had fish all over him. They've been blowing a bit like they do on the swamp. I had a chat with him actually, and I give him a couple of tips on fishing for the carp when they're blowing, because obviously their heads are down in the silt, and generally I'll stick a little pop-up straight off the lead, and basically I'll be not fishing for the blowing fish, but fishing for the fish that are picking the bits out of the blows, if you like, because you always get a few of them. And it's amazing how many runs you'll get doing that. You know, when the lake's fizzing over and your rigs are there and your bobbins are just sat like that, you know, pop one up off the bottom, because when it's on the bottom it's probably getting buried and they can't see it. So you pop a little wide pop up or something like that, about, I don't know, 10 inches to a foot straight off the lead. Simple little fluorocarbon rig, keep it strong, like, you know, if I hook something I want to get it out. And you know, when I fished that Bossard Masters, I did exactly that, and I won it, and everybody else was seems to be struggling fishing, you know, blowing fish in the silt. But you know, it's something I've grown up with and overcome and adapt, sort of thing, you know. But yeah, bait wise, I'm using Retro Baits Meaty Garlic. Lovely bait, fish absolutely love it here, you know, they're crapping it all over me in mat. Something I've been mixing that with is the shellfish and worm. I've basically run out of that now because I've been absolutely piling it in. I've just had another bleep. that goes again. I've literally just got rods back out. I should have left them in and finished this, to be fair. But yeah, mixed. I started off fishing pretty much the shellfish, so it's a black bait, to be honest, because the birds are diving. It's only shallow water, so having dark baits in dark silt, you're relying on the smell and the attractions to pull the fish in more so than the visual. And obviously when the birds come over, because it's only like 3.5 foot deep, and they can't see it, you see. So basically what I was doing is a bed of that chopped, and then a few meaty garlic over the top and a meaty garlic on the hook, and I was using basically these as little targets. And obviously I've run out of the shellfish now, so I'm basically going straight on with this, but they've had enough of this now to you know, every time I put it out and put a small handful out, you know, as you can see how many bites I'm getting, absolutely mental. But yeah, keep the bait small. Something else I've been watching, when the fish are showing, generally they're quite active, obviously, yeah. If they're not showing, basically they'll be sat up. So if I'm not getting any liners, bleeps or anything like that, and the fish aren't showing, you know, I'm quite happy to sit there because I know everything's set right. You know, there's no, if you're getting fish rolling all over the place and it's 12 hours and you've got fish rolling all over you, and then you haven't had a bleep or a bite, there's something, maybe your rig's got buried or something along those lines, so I'd redo, maybe have a recast or something like that. But I probably wouldn't even leave it 12 hours actually. But yeah, it's you know, you're baiting wise, there's loads of things you can do, and that keeps bleeping. Just little liners, there's plenty of fish in the area by the looks of it. And that's off a spot I've been baiting all week, that one spot there. I've been baiting it all week and not fishing it. It's halfway across to me other spot, because I was hoping, like, trying to read ahead, because I know where the fish have been patrolling round, but they get so much pressure and you start catching them and they're going to move. And basically there's a gap between the island and the main bank here. I've basically come halfway across, and I thought, well, if they come out and they want to go that way up the lake, or they want to hold in mid-water, I'll put some bait down. So I've been baiting that on and off all week and not even fishing it, to be fair. And I've seen some fish show on it this morning, and dropping rigs on that, and obviously rig over towards the far side where they've been coming up from. Like I said, we're blowing on the far side this morning, fizzing up, and then last night they were fizzing up all the way down that bottom end like that. And in a way, you're relying on them to catch a couple to push them up, especially on quite a big water, you know, especially if you can't move as well. So, you know, if helping him out or something, you know, give him a couple of tips, maybe stick an hook in a few, really, you know, it's going to help him catch, but it's going to help me as well, because every time he catches a fish, it's a disturbance. Look at that for a common. Absolutely fork-like sting. Beautiful stuff. Been a boiling hot day today. Lights just going a bit. And look what's happened. Fantastic. Right then, it's just dropping dark. 41 pounder. Look at that. Bit of a two-toner, absolutely stunning. Right, let's get her back and get the rod back out. I'm sure there might be bigger to come. Beautiful. Right, here's a nice early wake up call. £38 1 ounce. And the commons keep coming. Absolutely mental. Bit of mist on the water, cold night last night, but looks like the sun's going to be out today. So I'll get a couple tight in the margins, about 18 inches, 2 foot of water, and see what comes. Look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely stunning fish, and they all fight like sting. Great stuff. Right then, I'll see if this one will be out for you. £43 1 ounce. Absolutely beautiful fish. Another common. I think the commons like me this trip. So we can get her up. They're a bit lively in here for some reason at the minute. See how we go. How's that? Fantastic. Another long ranger. The shorter range ones seem to be coming through the night time, early morning. I think they've been looking at their patrol routes, and they seem to be cutting across the lake. But in the daytime, it's a bit longer range. I'm catching them like that. Fantastic. Couldn't resist a bit of meaty jig. Right, let's get you back. Right then, it's a rock hard beauty. £40 dead. Not literally, because she beat the hell out of me, to be fair. But long range, a few chops, bit of this, bit of that, tiny bit of hemp laced through it as well. Couldn't resist it. Beautiful. Right, I'm going to get her back. Right then, £34. This one bolted off down the margins, kited round, and a bit of a fight from hell down the margins, but it never kept out the trees, thank God. But how's that? Another meaty G shellfish, Gardner talon tip hooks, cracking, and I still ain't lost a fish. Well, unless you count that, I had a catfish yesterday who bit me off, but I don't really count that. Right, let's get her back. The next onslaught of bites. What else could I tell you about me baiting? Turn up to a lake if I'm on showing fish. If I think the bait is going to spook the fish, I don't put the bait in. Might sound a bit daft, but you know, probably the biggest thing we've got in our armoury is our stealth. You you know, and a lot of people don't use their stealth because, you know, I've seen them with mallets on the bank and all sorts. But you creep up, and when you reel in a rod, you're creating disturbance. And if you reel a lead past a fish or a rig past a fish, he swims off, the other fish will follow, or some other fish will follow. So basically what I'll be doing, I'll turn up, if I'm on the fish, I'll flick a couple of rigs out nice and quiet, maybe whatever smallest lead I can get away with to reach the distance I want to fish. Plop that down, and then when I get a bite, it's disturbing the swim, obviously, for playing the fish. And then if I want to put a little bit of bait in, that's when I'll bait. So, you know, I've seen some of these guys, they're Germany and Holland, and they turned up and they were basically walked, because it's only like 3.5 foot deep. They've walked straight out to their spots, putting markers in, buckets of bait, walking around, feeling the bottom, which is all well and good, like, but you know, I'm very much, I fish where I see the fish, and then keep it quiet, and then keep watching the fish from blows, shows, liners, because there wasn't even down this side here. I didn't even see a fish down here, but from the rod going across there, I had a liner, so I knew they were going to be coming this way. You see what I mean? So you find the patrol routes, small traps, and then you feed every bite, and then you're building it up, and the small items, it takes them longer to eat. You know, even if they've ate all the big bits, they'll keep coming back because they've got that scent now. You know, if you put in 10 handfuls of round boilers, once they've ate all the round boilers, there's nothing left there. But if you crumb some up, you've got the crumb, and they'll just keep coming back and keep coming back until everything's absolutely gone. You know, but by that time, every fish, you're topping it up. And it's a really good way of fishing. It's probably a bit of match fishing style in it. But, you know, I've had mates come over to France. You know, you could say, I'll say to people, oh, I use 30 kilo, and they think, oh, you've used loads of bait. And they'll turn up and they go, oh, yeah, I've used loads of bait, and they'll kick-start a spot off of about 5 kilo. And I've been putting in about 1/4 kilo of chops, I suppose. Thereabouts is about 2 handfuls, thereabouts 2.5 handfuls, and you know, I started off with less than that, so I was scratching for bites to start off with, trying to read what's going on, where the fish are going, and you know, it's a good way of fishing, and you get plenty of bites, and then the rest of it is just down to your gear, your line, and make sure your hooks are sharp. But there's loads of little tricks you can do, like if I'm fishing down the margins, the first initial bit of bait I put in, I'll chuck some in a bucket, and so that bait's soaking in the same time scale as what that is out in the lake. So if I catch a fish the next day, it could be 12, 14, 24 hours later, and there's a few fish feeding. If I want to top it up, I can top it up with bait, what they've been used to eating, whether it's the consistency, the smell, if you see what I mean. So I could flick a few bits in, and it keeps them rummaging around. I might get another bite out of it. Yeah, so it's all good fun, and to be honest, this week has been absolutely mental. The bites just haven't stopped, and because I've got me know where they go for night, and then I know where they go for the day, and then obviously I'm fishing in between, the bites really haven't stopped. And a lot of that is just keep your eyes peeled and feed to your bites. Right guys, I want to make you use your imagination here. Basically, what colour up baits amongst your bait. Generally I do like using chops, but whole boilers in the grass is going to be a bit easier for me to pick up. Right, so for instance, if I've got a bright little hook bait like that, okay, so we've got a lovely little bright hook bait there. If you're scratching for bites, it's a brilliant way of doing fishing. If you're fishing a lake where other people fish and you don't know what's in there, bait wise, it's a good way of fishing, something bright, and it'll you know, draw the fish's attention to it. I've watched fish stalking, and generally what happens, the smaller fish come through first as a rule. So problem with that, it's drawing its attention to that. So it's one for instance where I wouldn't use that, and I'd use one what matches. And then basically what happens is the smaller fish come in, picking up bits of bait, and it's putting a few more odds in your favour that buckbait's going to be still there in half an hour's time when the bigger fish start to come through feeding, and generally they're the ones that will mop the lot up, and it's a good way of targeting the bigger fish. Being back in Shropshire,